Assalamualaikum and thanks for joining me this Tuesday. I'm Ras Adiba Radzi and these are tonight's top stories. All MPs, including opposition, must declare assets, says Prime Minister. Man arrested for growing weed at home. And WhatsApp discover flaw hackers exploit to install spyware. Hello, it's good to see you again. We begin 7Edition with this story. All members of parliament, including those from the opposition, will be required to declare their assets to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said the Asset Declaration Initiative had been extended to include these lawmakers as part of the government's efforts to ramp up check on corruption.
According to the Premier, in a press conference after chairing the 8th Cabinet Select Committee on Anti-Corruption in Putrajaya today, the move has to go through the Speaker of the Dewan Rakyat first before it can be implemented.
Because even the opposition have exercised some power. For example, they have the power of criticizing the government. So for a fee, they might voice the criticism made by somebody or other. So they also must declare their asset.
The Premier also said under the National Anti-Corruption Plan, the Asset Declaration Initiative will be made part of the ministers and their deputies' Key Performance Index KPI. All ministers must also draw up and implement a policy on accepting gifts in their ministries and to impose a limit of 500 ringgit for gifts, which are restricted to food and flowers. Ministers will also be required to chair meetings on governance, integrity, and anti-corruption to increase transparency in public procurements and to implement an anti-corruption plan at the organizational level. Still stressing on the government's efforts to combat graft, the Prime Minister also said legal action will be taken against those involved, even those who have retired, in the ongoing probe over the Defence Ministry MINDEF's land swap scandal.
The police will investigate the Prime Minister as well. Nobody is above the law.
It was recently reported that a total of 16 land swaps took place in Kuala Lumpur, Penang, Selangor, Johor, Pahang and Sarawak. Defence Minister Muhammad Sabu said 13 of the 16 land swaps carried out during the previous administration involved his predecessor and the former Prime Minister.
In another development, MINDEF has launched 2 reports with the MACC on the land swap scandal involving lands owned by the ministry. The ministry said it wants a more comprehensive probe on the matter, followed by further action on the 16 land swap projects. In a statement issued today, MINDEF stated that a report by the Investigation Committee on Procurement, Governance and Finance had a big impact on the ministry. It is also a warning to all parties involved in managing the land swap projects to not get involved in power abuse and bribery. MINDEF added it will be posting the full report of the investigation on all the 16 land swap projects in stages on its official portal. The report, among others, alleged that administrative members, namely the former Prime Minister and former Defence Minister, were involved in 13 of the 16 land swap projects. Moving on, the Kuala Lumpur High Court has today fixed approximately 48 days of trial beginning January 6 next year for Datuk Seri Najib Razak's and former Treasury Secretary General Tan Sri Muhammad Irwan Seriga Abdullah's criminal breach of trust case amounting to over 6 billion ringgit. The duo are jointly facing CBT charges over payments made to International Petroleum Investment Company or IPIC. Both Datuk Sri Najib and Tan Sri Muhammad Irwan claimed trial over the IPIC case on October 25th last year to 6 counts of misappropriating 6.64 billion ringgit in government funds in 2017. The trial dates were fixed by Justice Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali during case management before the former Premier's SRC International Sdn Bhd trial. Tentatively, the court has fixed dates from January to April 2020 as the trial dates, which are intermittent as Datuk Sri Najib is also facing another trial with former One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB President and Chief Executive Officer Arul Kanda Kandasamy for allegedly tampering with the State Investment Fund's audit report, as well as 25 counts of money laundering and abuse of power involving 1MDB funds amounting to 2.28 billion ringgit. Elsewhere, a former sales manager was hauled to court for deceiving people into buying houses and shops at the Lembah Subang People's Housing Project PPR2, involving losses estimated at 75,500 ringgit. 57-year-old Raja Darul Afendi Shah Raja Haris Shah pleaded not guilty at the Shah Alam Sessions Court before Judge Rozila Saleh. He was charged with fraudulently pushing 21 of his victims to surrender some cash to buy houses and shops in the housing project. The accused was alleged to have committed the offence around the Klang Valley between April and July 2016. Under the Penal Code, he faces a 10-year jail term, a fine and whipping upon conviction. The court set bail at 40,000 ringgit and, as an additional condition, ordered the accused to report to the MACC office at the beginning of every month. June 21st has been set for case remention. Two suspected poachers were arrested at the Lesong Forest Reserve in Rompin, Pahang yesterday, with authorities also seizing 5 rifles and 70 rounds of bullets. Pahang CID Chief Dato' Uthman Nanyang said Perilitan officers stopped a 4-wheel drive in the reserve at around 1:30 p.m. yesterday and managed to arrest 2 men aged 51 and 64, but 3 others managed to flee. The weapons and bullets were found inside the vehicle. Checks showed one of the rifles belonged to the elder brother of the 51-year-old suspect, who was later arrested in Kuantan. All the suspects were remanded until May 18th to assist investigations for possession of firearms or bullets without permit. A woman of Chinese nationality and 4 local men believed to be Achin gang members were arrested by the police for alleged drug trafficking in a 2-day operation carried out on May 9th. Drugs worth more than 400,000 ringgit, vehicles as well as cash amounting to over 384,000 were also seized. At a media conference at the Kuala Lumpur Police Headquarters today, Police Chief Datuk Sri Mazlan Lazim revealed that the first suspect, a 22-year-old man, was arrested at Jalan Persiaran Segambut Utara, Kuala Lumpur at about 9 p.m. last Thursday. The arrest led to the seizure of a certain amount of drugs in his car.
Dan hasil pada masa kita tahan itu, kita menjumpai dadah ketamin iaitu anggaran berat 75.02 gram dan hasil suasasat kepada lelaki Cina yang berumur 22 tahun ini, dia telah membawa pihak polis ke rumah kedai 4 tingkat. Rumah kedai 4 tingkat di Jalan Ipoh Batu 5, Kuala Lumpur. Dan rumah 4 tingkat ni adalah rumah keluarga dia.
Meanwhile, the second suspect, aged 39, and the Chinese national, aged 50, were arrested at a condominium at Jalan Ipoh at about 1 a.m. on Friday, where the police also seized various types of drugs and a Glock pistol with 1 bullet. The fourth suspect, aged 53, was arrested at his house at Jalan Sungai Besi, Kuala Lumpur. The group is believed to be active in the Klang Valley and Sentul. All of the suspects are under remand to facilitate investigations, while the police are looking for the remaining gang members. A 28-year-old man thought he could get away with growing marijuana in his home, but the law got him yesterday. Police, acting on a tip-off, raided the man's 2-story link house in Klanajaya and found 11 marijuana plants. Apart from the marijuana, officers seized a Ducati Scrambler motorcycle and a Toyota GT86 belonging to the suspect. The value of the seizure is estimated at 200,000 ringgit.
Okay, di dalam pemeriksaan yang kita buat, pihak polis juga merampas pada mulanya 1 paket plastik yang berisi daun-daun kering dipercayai ganja di dalam beg yang disandang oleh lelaki tersebut. Pemeriksaan lanjut juga mendapati bahawa 11 batang pokok ganja disyaki ditanam di dalam 6 buah pasu di bahagian dapur rumah tersebut. Okey. Ini yang berada dalam kawasan rumah. 6 pasu dalam jumlah keseluruhannya semua lebih kurang dalam 11 batang ganja.
Police also seized $2,400 and 7.7 million Indonesian rupiah. The suspect is in remand until May 20th to assist in investigations under the Dangerous Drugs Act. Illegal fishing, including the use of explosives in the once pristine Pulau Perhentian Marine Park area of Terengganu, is fast destroying marine resources, including coral reefs. The situation is getting more serious lately, with the illegal activities now reported to have spread to several popular dive sites around the island resort. A 2-minute video footage recorded by a diver at Tokong Laut recently showed how the activities have caused immeasurable damage to the marine ecosystem. Tokong Laut, otherwise known as Temple of the Sea, is reported to be one of the best dive sites in Pulau Perhentian. According to sources, besides Tokong Laut, 2 other popular dive spots, Terumbu Tiga and Vietnamese Wreck, were also badly affected. Although the incidents were nothing new, it was alleged that the authorities, particularly the Marine Park Department, has not taken serious steps to prevent it from recurring. The activities were reported to be masterminded by foreign fishermen, with cooperation from some irresponsible locals. After the break, friends show true Malaysian spirit during Ramadan. Details next. Hello again. Now let's hop on to our daily segment Clickbait, where we take a look at what's trending and making rounds in the cyber world today. In this holy month, everyone is chasing over good deeds. People are advised to nourish the spirit of servitude towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the same time, strengthen good relations among each other. This is proven by 5 friends from various ethnic groups who recently became a viral phenomenon for multicultural life at its best. Take a look. The pilots, who are of Malay, Chinese and Indian ethnicities, cooked their sahur meals and broke their fast together on the first day of Ramadan. 22-year-old Farid Hanif posted the heartwarming celebrations with his friends in Pattaya, Thailand on Twitter and has since garnered nearly 16,000 retweets. According to Farid, they have known each other since 2015 and this was their first vacation together, making it even more exciting with the fact that they had the chance to celebrate the fasting month abroad. The tweet has also received many positive reactions from netizens who praised Farid and his friends for uniting in diversity. While some even share their own experiences celebrating Ramadan with their non-Muslim mates or colleagues. Now, this is truly the depiction of multicultural, and it has really warmed our hearts this Ramadan. In India, recently, a young lady's innocent trip to the neighborhood automatic telemachine ATM became a harrowing one after a male stranger tailed her inside only to shamelessly flash her. On both her Instagram and Facebook accounts, Shibani wrote that the incident happened when she was at the ATM booth to withdraw some money to pay the rickshaw driver she hired. In her tweets, Shibani wrote that she was heading home from a gig and made a pit stop at an ATM near her house to pay the driver. While she was trying to withdraw some cash, the flasher tailed her inside and asked if she needed help to pay the driver, to which she politely declined. Somehow, Shibani was struggling to cash out, so she went back to the driver and explained the situation and returned to the ATM booth to give another try. This was when her innocent night turned into a disturbingly dirty nightmare when the 38-year-old creep showed up again and this time moved in closer to the victim, then daringly touched her shoulder and thigh, blatantly revealed his private parts and again asking if she needs help. In an attempt to scare him off, Shibani whipped out her phone and recorded the creep. The clip, which was viewed over 1.23 million times, sees the man with his genital still hanging freely, panicked and dashed his way out of the ATM booth. Luckily, there was a cop car right outside, to which Shibani showed the lawman the video she took, and a chase ensued. Fortunately, Shibani tweeted that the assailant is now in police custody. Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has reassured that the government was performing well and investments were coming into the country. This was evident as Malaysia had scored high on various international indexes. However, the country has also fallen victim to some fake news by certain foreign media outlets. The Prime Minister pointed out that Malaysia is a good country to invest in, but some news report claimed that the situation here is bad, as if it is a war-torn country.
We are depending upon the press, like you, for example. You see the list of things where we scored very high. Obviously, this is a good country to invest money in, but great experts write in the press that Malaysia is very bad, as if we are going through a war or something. But actually, we are performing very well. And the investments are coming in. But please report the truth. Don't report fake news. Although we don't have the law here.
He said this when commenting on a foreign news report saying global investors were losing patience with the Pakatan Harapan administration's slow reforms. According to the Bloomberg report, stocks, bonds and the ringgit were under pressure a year after the election, while public spending cut and regulatory restrictions have hurt investor sentiment. Earlier, Tun Dr. Mahathir launched a workplace guideline for the public sector known as My Portfolio. The guideline aims at creating a conducive environment to make the civil sector more efficient.
Saya ingin memperingati semua anggota kerajaan bahawa sistem ataupun cara melakukan sesuatu walau bagaimana baik sekalipun tidak akan berjaya jika pengamal sistem tidak gunanya dengan jujur, disiplin dan semangat.
The My Portfolio initiative was developed by the Malaysian Administrative Modernisation and Management Planning Unit, or MAMPU, which lets civil servants know what is required in executing his duties. It also spells out the parameters and the connection between them and other offices. The Premier also said the government remained committed to boosting Malaysia's competitiveness at the international level. The latest Ease of Doing Business report 2019 by the World Bank showed that Malaysia had risen from 24th to 15th place among 190 nations. Now, International Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Darryl Lai King also stated that many investors are still coming to invest in Malaysia despite negative reports on the country by international media. He added, as a new government, Malaysia is facing many challenges, including perception issues compared to other countries in the region.
What I'm concerned about is, Malaysia is the only government that is only on its first year. The rest of the countries surrounding us in Southeast Asia have not had a change of government for the last 4 or 5 years. And even some of them have continued after 5 years. So we take the challenge, and we believe that there may be elements as well that would like to make Malaysia not a destination. Because with our Prime Minister, with the leadership that we have in many of our states, the investors are very confident to come in.
Despite the negative reports, he added that the government is committed in continuing to establish investor-friendly environment. He was also commenting on yesterday's Bloomberg report, which alleged that global funds are bypassing Malaysia in favour of other countries as they failed to see reforms as promised by the PH government. WhatsApp is urging its 1.5 billion global users to update to the latest version of the app as soon as possible. This after discovering a vulnerability that allowed spyware to be injected into a user's phone through the app's phone call function. According to the Financial Times, the spyware was developed by the Israeli cyber intelligence company NSO Group, which first reported the vulnerability. It was believed that attackers could transmit the malicious code to a target's device by calling the user and infecting the call, whether or not the recipient answered the call, as logs of the incoming calls were often erased. Once installed, the spyware can turn on a phone's camera and mic and scan emails as well as messages, at the same time collecting the user's location data. WhatsApp added that the vulnerability was discovered this month and that the company quickly addressed the problem within its own infrastructure. The company has also alerted U.S. law enforcement to the exploit and published a CVE notice, an advisory to other cyber security experts, alerting them to common vulnerabilities and exposures. When we return, Pakistan lawmen killed in bomb blast. Don't touch that dial. We're back with foreign news. 4 policemen were killed and 9 people wounded when militants detonated a bomb hidden under a motorbike in the southwestern Pakistani city of Quetta. The Pakistani Taliban has claimed responsibility over the attack. According to authorities, 2 of the wounded are currently in critical condition. The attack came 2 days after Baloch separatists attacked a luxury hotel in the province's second city, Gwadar, where development of a port is the flagship project of a multi-billion-dollar Chinese infrastructure initiative in Pakistan. 5 people, including a soldier, died in the hotel attack, which also left all 3 militants dead. Since 2004, the Pakistani military has been waging war on militants, and security forces are frequently targeted. 5 Sudanese protesters and an army major were shot dead at a sit-in outside the army headquarters in Khartoum on Monday. This occurred hours after protest leaders, as well as the ruling generals, reached a breakthrough agreement on transitional authorities to run the country. 3 soldiers, several protesters and civilians were also injured when unidentified elements fired shots in the capital. According to the Prosecutor General Office, ousted President Omar al-Bashir had been charged of the killings of protesters during anti-regime demonstrations that led to the end of his rule last month. Since then, thousands of protesters remain camped outside the headquarters, vowing to force the military council to cede power. The generals in earlier talks had proposed the new council be led by the military, while the protest leaders want a majority civilian body. The Badminton World Federation, BWF, has introduced a new outdoor game, the Air Badminton, which is aimed at increasing global participation in the sport by allowing people of all ages to enjoy the game outdoors. The project, which has been 5 years in the making, started with the development of a new outdoor shuttlecock with increased durability, stability and wind resistance. The Air Badminton and the new outdoor shuttlecock, the Air Shuttle, was launched by BWF President Paul-Erik Hoyer Larsen at a ceremony outside the Tianhe Gymnasium in Guangzhou, China on Monday. The project, in partnership with HSBC, was aimed at introducing a new, highly attractive form of competitive badminton to the public by making it easier for everyone to play the sport in an outdoor environment. The game is played on new court dimensions, which are suitable for open-air locations, such as parks, gardens, streets, playgrounds, and even beaches. According to the BWF, badminton now has some 300 million active players globally. As such, it is currently working with leading sports manufacturers to mass-produce and roll out the Air Shuttle. The eventual aim is for the new shuttlecock to be played at places with winds up to 12 kilometers per hour. In Vietnam, thousands of Buddhists from across the world gather in northern Hanam province to celebrate Vesak Day ahead of the May 19th festival. Take a look at the candlelight visual as 7Edition draws to a close. I'm Ras Adiba Radzi. Thanks for watching and till meet again. Assalamualaikum and good night.